Okay, I'm live. Hi, everybody. It's Ellen Violette, and it's New Year's Eve. It's 5 o'clock here in San Diego, and it's 8 o'clock on the East Coast. But I said I was, oh God, my makeup's a little funky. I said I was going to be doing this at 5 o'clock on Thursdays, and it's 5 o'clock on Thursday. So here I am. So I wanted to start by just kind of wrapping up the new year, the old year for me, and then talking about what I think people need to know from what I'm seeing in the group. Number one, people are saying that they need help with marketing. Number two, they're saying that they need help with self-publishing. And there are critical steps that you need for both of those that I think most people don't think about. So I'm going to talk about that. And then toast to the new year. So that's it. So the first thing is I want to talk about what I'm grateful for. And I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of the journey I've been on the last couple of years, because I was having kind of a rough time. I mean, when I started my business, it was really easy. I didn't know anything about marketing, but it was a different time and there wasn't a lot of information out there. And so I got in at a really good time, and people were hungry for information and they didn't have a lot of choices. So when I came along and I was looking for a book coach, but I really was excited about ebooks at that point. And it was 2004, and some people were already saying ebooks are dead. And I was like, that's crazy. They're never going to be dead. And I was lucky that I got into a program that taught me a tactic that works really well, and that was TeleSeminar Secrets. And so I learned to do webinars, and I learned to start growing my list, and I did a lot of things right, and it was just working, and I got to 6 figures in 2.5 years. But over time, a lot of things changed. You know, the blogs came in, and social media, and also the recession hit. So things just started changing, and I wasn't prepared for it, really, is the thing. And so I started feeling like I wasn't growing as quickly as I could, or even at all at some time. And it was frustrating, and it was really hard. And it was like, I'm so smart. Why isn't this working? And, jumping from person to person, trying to learn different things. But the truth is that it got so bad that I remember being in this place where I was just desperate. And it was in 2018. And so, I mean, I was still making money, but I was just desperate as far as I just couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't handle like how many times I felt I had failed, not understanding why things weren't working. And so I went back to a coach, and I scraped together some money, because at that particular time, cash flow was very low. And I had a coaching call, and there's a reason I'm telling you this. It has to do with what I'm grateful for this year. And so I had a coaching call with him, and he told me to start a podcast. And so I started the podcast. And what happened was that I did it very badly, because I couldn't afford to hire someone right then to walk me through it. And so I really had to just do it myself. And I just reached a point where I knew it wasn't working, and I just scrapped it, and that was it. And then I started all over, and that's how I got to the Books Business Abundance podcast. And one thing I'm really proud of is that this year I did it all year consistently. I think we might have missed 1 week where we had a tech issue. I'm not sure, or it may have just been late. But it's been extremely rewarding. But also, what I started doing in 2008 was I started buying again. I started buying into courses. I started buying into the idea that I needed to be around people who were more successful than I was, and to stop being embarrassed for the failures that I'd had, because I'd also had a lot of success along the way, but I wasn't feeling good about myself because of all all the things that had happened. And so um, I first did Russell Brunson's One Funnel Away challenge, and I did it a few times, and I learned a lot, but I haven't yet created a funnel. I started to, and I went in there and had somebody helping me, and then it kind of fell apart, and then I didn't really want to do it because I really want to do it a different way. But anyway, but then in 2019, at the beginning of the year, I decided this was the year. I'm sorry, 2020, I decided this was the year that I was going to learn how to run a business because I'm a creative. I didn't have a clue really what I was doing. I just did what I was told, and it worked until it didn't. So I took another course, and it's really a good course with Suzanne Evans. And then in April, Jeff Walker was promoting his product launch formula, which he usually only does once a year, but he did a special one. And so I decided to get into that. And what I learned going through these courses is that it doesn't matter what people are doing. If it doesn't resonate with you, or it doesn't feel authentic to you, or if it's just something you don't really want to do, you're not going to do it, or you're not going to stick with it. Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a course and then I just start tweaking it. I mean, that was how I originally got started writing books. Was I was looking for a course, and I couldn't find one I couldn't find one at all in those days. But then I found a journal, and I thought it needed help, and I told him I can make this better, and so that's what I did. I made it better, and so that's what I've always done. But that's like really important, I think, is that you have passion for what you're doing, and if it's not working for you, then you need to kind of work with it until it does work for you. And so what I'm grateful for this year is that I kept moving forward, even when it was difficult financially to do. And because what happened for me with COVID was my business at that point was pretty much all referral, or almost all referral. And I was doing $10,000 and $15,000 packages. And that kind of dried up when COVID hit, because people were feeling, insecure and everything. And so, and I know a lot of people don't like this word, pivot, but I did start to think about pivoting, not to do something different, but just to do what I do a different way. And so that's exciting to me, because this year was learning and planning, and next year is implementing. So we're getting started on some really fun things. And I'm going to be doing a book writing challenge that's going to be coming up starting January 11th. So mark your calendar for that. And you'll be definitely hearing more about that very soon. But so I'm grateful for all the learning. I'm grateful for Zoom. I'm grateful for all the amazing people that I met. I mean, starting my podcast, I've just been hanging out with great people, some great opportunities to speak. And I've gotten some clients, that way from being involved in networking. And I love my Facebook. I love you guys, and I love all my friends in Facebook. And I'm still, I still have Twitter. I have like about 11,000 people in there, and 9,000, I think, almost in LinkedIn, and more scattered around. But Facebook really is the most connecting for me. I just feel the most connected here. What I could do without for this year was being cooped up so much. And in the beginning, it was, not knowing what the deal was with COVID. And then once we figured out what we believe is happening, we decided for us the best thing was to lock down. So that's what we've been doing since March 13th. And what's been challenging about that is keeping food in the house all the time. Being cooped up with somebody, for me, it's just the two of us. But, if you're cooped up with people, I mean, it's no matter how much you love them, it can be difficult. And just not having the choice to go out and to do the things that we want to do. I mean, I've worked at home since I was, since the 70s, when I got into the music business. And I actually planned my life to work at home, because I knew I didn't want to work for somebody. I didn't want to have to go to an office because I did it in the 70s, and I didn't like it. I was a copy editor for magazines. So that I didn't like it. So for the next 20 years, I worked at home in my recording studio. And then we were buying, flipping, and selling houses. So we were living in them. And now this that I've been doing for 16 years. So I have planned my life this way. And if you have not planned your life the way you want it, like 2021 is the year to do it. So start planning your life the way that you want to do it. And one really great way to do it is by writing books. Because writing books, first of all, open doors to amazing opportunities. And that's another great thing that happened for me, is that more than one person was telling me, you've got to trademark. Books open doors. It's so amazing. And so we're doing that. So I'm really excited about that. And but this is the year for you, to start planning your life the way that you want it to be. I didn't do that when I started my business because I didn't know that I could do that. In other words, what I'm trying to say is I didn't know I could do it working at home and yet still within that framework plan it so that I could have more free time and vacations when I wanted them, and all the things that people promise you when you get online. So, but I didn't know how to get there. So the thing is to work backwards and figure out what you want your life to work, how you want it to work, which I've learned a lot more about in the last couple of years, and then make it work that way by figuring out what to do. And one of the things that I found really encouraging was I was watching a video from Mark Gaberty, and you always hear that you can't make a living just writing books. Well, first of all, it depends on the kind of living that you want to make. Like what's more important to you, the freedom or something else, more money, basically. Do you want to really run a multi-million-dollar business, or do you just want enough to have freedom at a low end? So you have to decide what it is that you want. And but I was excited when I heard him talk, because he said there are authors making six figures on Amazon, and the average is 28 books. So, every book doesn't have to be a masterpiece, and there are all different kinds of books that you can do. But if that's a goal, then, go for it, do it. So I want to talk about how to do it, though, how to set it up, because I've seen when people come into this group, the number one thing that they tell me they're having challenges with is marketing. And the number two thing they're having challenges with is self-publishing. And from working with hundreds of authors over the years and talking to tons more authors and seeing authors post all the time in groups that I'm in on Facebook, it's clear to me that most don't start thinking about it until they've written their book. And this is something that I talk about over and over and over because it's the most important thing. The most important thing is setting up the book properly, because if you do that, then you have the information that you need to self-publish, number one. And number two, it's going to make your marketing a lot easier because you have this vital information before you get started trying to market. So there are several things that you need to know. And when I talk about, you need to know who you're writing your book for, first of all. And even before that, first of all, not everybody even knows what they want to write about. Some people just know they want to write a book. And so in that case, to write that first book, and again, we're always talking about nonfiction, although I have worked with some children's authors and fiction, but I focus on nonfiction. And, what your passion is and what your skills are, because I've seen over and over, if people don't know what that is, they don't stick with it. But then once you know that, you have to know who your market is. And I recently have been working with somebody where they had a book they thought was finished, and they came to me, and I read the book, and it was really 3 different books. And the reason it was 3 different books was he had 3 different target markets, and each one needed to be approached quite differently than the other two. So that's why it's so important to know who you're writing the book for. So, let's say you're a professional and you've got a book that could be for professionals, and you've got another part of the book that could be for your clients, and you've got another part of a book that's more of a memoir. And that's kind of how his was laid out in those three areas. So we had to go back in and say, okay, well, which one's most important right now? And then let's focus on that one. So that's why it's really important. And then, if you're going to self-publish, and even if you're not, you need to know what your keywords are. You need to know what your categories are in Amazon. You don't need that if it's just on your website. And you need to know, what do they want to buy? Last night my husband and I were watching this show called Undercover Billionaire, and we were so excited because really nothing else was on. But we found it absolutely fascinating, and it turned out it was done in segments, and we came in kind of at the end, and then it started over, and they didn't get all the way through. So we saw, parts of it. But the lessons in this were just amazing, because the challenge was for the guy to take $100, go to a city he didn't know. They just decided, I guess, where it was going to be, and they plopped him in a city, which happened to be Erie, Pennsylvania, and gave him $100 and said, okay, the challenge was to turn it into $1 million business. And so to get started doing this, when he only had $100, his first mission was to figure out, he was saying how you have to get out of survival mode. And so what he was doing was trying to find something to buy that he could then sell. And at first, he did it wrong. And then he said, I can't believe I did that, because I know better. And I know that you have to find your buyer first. You have to know who you're selling to and what they want before you figure out, what it is you're going to sell them. Because if there's no market for it, you don't want to waste your time doing this, spending all this time writing a book that nobody wants to buy. So I'm going to be, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be doing a 5-day challenge. And what we're going to do in this challenge is we are going to go through the steps of setting up your book properly so that it's primed to be a bestseller when you write it. So we're going to go over all the things that I just mentioned, first of all, what your passion and skill set is, and who the market is, and what it is they want to buy. And then the next thing we're going to talk about is how to position it so it stands out from the competition. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about is creating your outline. So you're just ready to go. Your book is all laid out. So it's very easy, or much easier to write than how most people do it. And plus, when you're done, then you're going to have a book that was set up properly, and that there's a market for, and that you can build on. So again, mark your calendar. That is January 11th through 15th. And for anybody who wants to go deep into having me go through it with you, as far as setting yourself up in Kindle and getting the right keywords, the right categories, one of the things that I do with all my clients is my Crushing Kindle Marketing and Visibility Study. And right now that is on sale. So you can save $150 on that. It's in the holiday sale that's going on right now, and that is going through the weekend, and will end on Monday at noon Pacific. And that link is booksopendoors.com/holiday 2020 if you want to check that out, and the other pieces that are there. And there's something for everyone as far as marketing and self-publishing, but I just want to let you know kind of the things that are coming up. And as far as the new year, as I said, it's about 8:20 now on the East Coast. We're at 5:20 here. And tonight we will be watching probably Ryan Seacrest and who is it? Anderson Cooper and But right now I wanted to make a toast, so I've got my little sparkling water here. And I want to wish everybody a really happy new year. I hope this year brings you everything that you're wishing for. And if I can help in any way, that's what I'm here to do. And I know it's going to be a great year in our group. And I can't control what's going on outside, and neither can you, but we can take care of ourselves and do the best we can to keep moving forward. So, to the new year. See you next year, next week. Bye-bye.